Welcome back. So to this now, the Special Investigating Unit confirms the completion of the first phase of its investigation into the Rooival water tender in Tshwane. The unit says it has referred the matter to the National Prosecuting Authority for possible prosecution. 5 senior officials in the city were suspended for their alleged role in the awarding of the tender. But for more on the story, we are now joined by SIU spokesperson, Mr. Kaizer Kganyago. Mr. Kganyago, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're still saying Happy New Year, so I'm going to say it as well. Happy New Year from myself. Yes, thanks for joining us.
Happy New Year, and a lady, and to all your listeners and viewers.
All right, great. We really appreciate it. So I actually don't want to take for granted that, the viewer understands just how far back this investigation goes. Certainly when we think about the tender and its importance, it talks about water availability for vulnerable communities in Tshwane. But talk to us about when the investigation started and also the scope that you've looked at throughout that time.
Yeah, maybe I must start by clearing something here, Naledi. There were issues of cholera that were happening in Hammanskraal. And then there was an investigation that was done by the city of Tshwane, which led to all the things that we are saying in the intro around people who were suspended and have to come back and all of that. We as the SIU were not involved with that part. At that point, we had applied for a proclamation, and then the proclamation came, and we started doing this matter. This is 2025 now. We started to do this matter early 2024, if I remember. And then we had intended to finish the investigation by the end of October 2024, but because of the complexity of this matter, we have only finished a part of it, and we will finalize the other part in this financial year, this year, not necessarily.
Yeah, and the scope. So who exactly was being investigated? Because there are so many moving parts here and many individuals that have been named by media houses and others.
Yes, like I always say, Naledi, we were not investigating anyone. What came to our attention is the fact that there is this contract that was entered into by the city of Tshwane with these companies, the JV that they were talking about. And that was indicated to us that it was not done in a proper manner. That's what we are investigating. And also the fact that payments were done, but the work has not been done. That is what came before us. And that is what the first phase of the investigation was looking into. This contracts and how this matter was done. And on the basis of that, we then have findings that are basically saying there is something wrong here. And that is why we are saying at the moment that we already have referred this matter to the NPA, and we have also referred it to the Hawks in terms of the criminality side of it. We have found that there's something criminal that is happening. And as we speak now, we are in the process of finalizing referrals for disciplinary. That will have to happen to be taken to the city of Tshwane so that they can discipline whoever we will be giving to them with the evidence that we'll give to them. And then we have already made referrals to SARS, where we are saying we can see that these companies that were involved here were dodging tax, and that we have done in November already. And then now in February or so, we will be finalizing the referral to CIDB, which is the construction industry board, where we are going to say we are now reporting this as construction companies to you to deal with them in terms of your own rules.
Yeah, and I don't know if in those referrals you're able to share with us what recommendations, if at all, the SIU puts forward. So I suppose what I'm asking for, if you will, is if you're at liberty at all to go into details as to, in your findings, the criminal elements in that tender.
Yeah, I can't go into details now because you must understand that the NPA still has to look into the evidence that we gave to them and decide whether they will prosecute or not. Therefore, if we then get into detail of that, we might jeopardize that process. Safe for us to say that we have made the referrals, but also safe for us to say we have found that this contract was not done in a proper manner. And that is why we have all of these referrals. And the referrals that we give to NPA or to the city of Tshwane do not just go as referrals. We give them evidence to say, this is the evidence. And in as far as the disciplinary is concerned, we go a step further. We even say we have got our investigators who are available to serve as people who will give evidence in the disciplinary hearings that needs to happen, so that we deal with the facts and we also deal with the law.
So at this point, and this is just to clarify, you are not at liberty to tell me, as you hand over to the National Prosecuting Authority, the who you want to be prosecuted?
Yes, we cannot say that because if we do that and then for one reason or the other, the NPA decides not to prosecute, we would have damaged the reputation of those people. And we do not want to do that.
Yeah, okay. And then the steps that possibly could be taken by SARS?
Yeah, SARS will have to then follow up with this company to be able to check whether they were up to date with their tax matters, and then use their processes and their legislation to recover whatever amount that needs to be recovered.
Okay, and talk to me about these 5 senior officials in the city of Tshwane and I suppose the recommendation for the suspension on them to be lifted.
Yeah, that, like I said at the beginning, Naledi, is not our process. We were not involved. It was the investigation done by the city, and we do not want to get involved. This one that we are going to make referrals on, it is the one that we will have done with the evidence that is coming from us, and therefore we will be in a position to follow it up to the end to make sure that it is done. And we cannot at this stage indicate whether these 5 people are part of what we will be referring or not. But they may be, they may not be. Therefore, at the end, we will give this to the city of Tshwane. But we don't just give it. We monitor it. We work with the presidency. They've got a committee there in the presidency to monitor all the referrals of the SIU. We also work with SCOPA around this matter. We've got an MOU where we are monitoring all of these referrals that we are doing. And that we will continue to do up till the end of those transactions.
Yeah, I do, of course, need to think about how ultimately, really at the genesis of this was the cholera matter. And I don't know if you would like to share a message to the people of Hammanskraal that are watching this discussion around what this process means for them. And not about their quality of water, but certainly what it is that this gives to the people of Hammanskraal when just recently the Tshwane mayor postponed, a water tasting in the city. In Hammanskraal, allegedly and indefinitely, so we await that water tasting. But your message to what this investigation does for the people of Hammanskraal?
The investigation is just to give assurance, to say, once we find that these things were not done in a proper manner, they will then take this matter to the special tribunal, set aside this contract and recover the money, so that the money can be brought back into the city so that it can be used to finish off the Rooival water treatment center. So that is an assurance that we can give to them. But also, as part of the second phase, we are going to also look at the causal effect of what happened at Rooival versus what happened, the cholera outbreak that happened, whether there was a causal relationship that happened there, because we do not want to just assume that is because of that the cholera happened.
Yeah, Mr. Kganyago, we do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Kaizer Kganyago, the spokesperson for the Special Investigating Unit, is speaking to us this evening on Newsfeed PM.